Hey folks, and welcome back. This is Hydra Hobbies, and I'm Daniel. Now today, I'm going to be working on this model here. This is the old Smithy from Umber Tourist. This is something I picked up recently in a clearance sale. I have a new campaign coming up, and because of who I am as a person, it is of course taking place in a setting for which I have absolutely no terrain, because that's how I do things. But I thought this would be something cool to get me started on that. It will fit in the new setting, and it looks like it'll be relatively small and easy to paint, so it'll be a good start on that. When I got it, it wasn't originally meant to be in a video, but I searched on YouTube to see if anyone had done any particularly inspiring paint jobs on it, and I couldn't find a single video of anyone assembling and painting this mini. I think I found one unboxing, and that was it. So, I thought, you know, what the hell, I'll go ahead and give it a shot myself then. So, let's jump in and have a look at this. Okay, so there's only 3 pieces to this model, it looks like, and as you can see, if you're familiar with this stuff, this is resin, as opposed to like injection molded plastic or Ceocast or all of the other cleaner techniques that exist these days. This is not, this is not something you see a lot of anymore, resin of this type. But yeah, it's a relatively small project. It fits together cleanly. It looks like it's just the 2 pieces that make up the majority of it, and then one more pillar that slots right in here. Yeah. Now, if you're not familiar with this kind of material, it's pretty delicate, so you gotta be careful. And you don't want to be breathing any of this in when you're cutting away these supports. So I'm gonna mask up and figure out what I'm gonna cut this with, because I don't think a hobby knife is the way to go here. If you have it, probably a little hobby saw would be perfect, but I don't have one of those, so I'm gonna have to figure out something else. Alright, give me a moment to grab a mask, and I'll see what I can do. Okay, forgive me if what I'm saying is a little muffled. I do have a mask on right now. Like I said, I don't have a hobby saw, but I do have a Dremel. So I'm gonna try a cutting wheel on this, this resin and see how it works. I don't know if this is gonna be the way to go or not, and I'm gonna be very careful doing this, but we'll see how cleanly it cuts. There are a couple of spare broken off pieces of resin in the box, so that's gonna be my test for this. We'll just give it a shot. I mean, it is cutting it pretty cleanly. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to go through this with like a knife, because I think it tends to break. Yeah. Well, I'll give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. Okay, there we go. I've got this all cleaned up now. And again, of all the things in the hobby that classify as stuff you don't want in your lungs, resin dust is probably one of the worst. So just be really careful if you're doing that. And I know I created a ton of dust by doing it with the Dremel. That was probably pretty stupid, but I don't have a hobby saw and I don't really plan on working with this material again. So I just masked up, cleaned up really well after, and powered through. But that aside, let's take a look at some of the details on this. We've got the furnace inside with these little runestone carvings, some excellent wood texture, really deep, crisp wood texture. And on the back, we've got some more details, a vent, some more runestones. It's kind of a serpent engraved in this one, and the chimney also has like a stylized serpent head on it, but you can actually see little bolts and decorations on it, which is pretty cool. Lots of great detail. The front of the forge has this crest above it, which again continues the serpent theme, which can also be seen in the sort of figurehead carved into the top of the roof. And then the only other piece is the other front pillar, which has this little barrel of presumably water or oil for quenching right at the front of it. So I'm going to use a mix of super glue and E6000 to put this together. The E6000 takes a long time to cure. So I'm going to be basically putting the super glue on at the center point, just a few little dots here and there to hold it together while the E6000 cures. That way it will not need to be clamped or held together or anything like that. The super glue will hold it while the stronger glue settles. The super glue at least is dry, so we can have a look at it all put together here. It's pretty small, but you know, it's got a lot of detail on it, and I think it will look great in the setting. Yeah. Loads of detail, and I think it's gonna be fun to paint. I'm kind of tempted to base it, just to give it a little more presence, but at the same time, I'm not actually 100% sure what the terrain in the new setting is going to look like, so I don't want to, you know, put it down and add a bunch of mud and flowers and rocks and things like that and then have that turn out not to be what the setting looks like. So I think I'm just going to leave it off a base for now, and I'm going to leave it overnight to make sure that E6000 glue dries, because that's really what's going to be holding this together more than the super glue. So here is what I have ended up with just a black primer and some olive drab sprayed over top in kind of a zenithal style. Now, you do want to scrub this first with some hot water and soap just to get any release agent off of the resin. That's something that this older resin used to have big problems with. This isn't a material you see much anymore, not with the advent of like CO-cast and injection molded plastics being so much better than they used to be. But it's ready to paint. Now this is the first piece of terrain I'm going to be painting up for my new setting, which is pretty exciting. And I'm going to be doing it in a style that should be really easy and really accessible. I've just grabbed some kind of random old paints. I've got a dark gray and a green that I'm going to be starting with. And the idea is just to do some wet blending to get some colors on here. I'm going to be starting with the stonework. And the process is going to be really simple, and it's kind of designed to just make this as easy as possible. The green is going to be starting on all the lower parts of the stonework to give it a kind of a mossy algae sort of look. Just like that. And I'm going to start to bring it up to the midpoint, all around that stonework. Just really sloppy like that. And that's when I'm going to bring in the grays and blend it all in. You can go back and forth on this as much as you want to until it looks how you want it to look. Bring in a little more gray or a little more green, or whatever you feel looks best. Now, as I go across all of these detailed rocks on the back, I am kind of fading the algae out around this vent that's in the back, because I think it's probably supposed to be like a heat vent from the forge. And I want to kind of subtly imply that, you know, the algae just does not grow as well there because of all of the heat that gets vented out. Just a little environmental storytelling to make it a bit more interesting. I do want to say too that the details on this are so sharp and so crisp. It just looks fantastic, and I think it's going to be really, really easy to paint up with these kinds of techniques that are just going to be really simple. Really beginner friendly stuff. And all of these really sharp details in the resin will make that look really good. But I can also tell you that this feels incredibly fragile. It's not super comfortable to work with, honestly. I've never worked with this material before, not really. And yeah, it doesn't feel great. It definitely feels like I have to be sort of careful while working with it, and that it's pretty delicate. So here we go with the first wet blended layers of paint on the rocks. As you can see, I carried the same pattern inside of the forge, where I've kind of faded the mossy look out around the actual forge itself, because it's going to be hot and dry around that area. But otherwise, a nice, quick, and simple coat of paint to start us off and get a little bit of color on there. Now I'm going to do pretty much the same technique on the wooden roof panels, all of the wood parts really, the beams and everything. I'm going to take a few different browns and just blend them into each other to create a nice varied brown as our base color, and I'll get the barrel while I'm at that. As you can see, I'm just kind of slopping this on here and wet blending it wherever it happens to meet. I'm going to be adding more color, more variation to this as we go on. That's kind of what all these techniques today are going to be about. It's just quick, easy ways to get variation. As you can see, I'm not worried about blending it perfectly or worrying about where it touches, overlaps on the metal, things like that. We're going to paint the metal details after, so if we cover them now, it doesn't really make any difference. So you can just kind of be messy, let yourself have a little fun with it, not worry too much. Just get it. Now this has taken almost no time, and I'm pretty much done with base coats already. Just using this wet blending technique. Getting this nice varied color across the entire miniature, which is going to give us a great base to work from. I just have to finish up these wood bits, and that's it. That's base coating. I mean, there's the metallics as well, but we'll do those last once everything else is totally finished. And it was really simple and easy. Now I could have done this brighter, like the wood had been painted. You know, it is a shop. Maybe they're trying to attract attention, drawing customers, that kind of thing, and that would have been fine too. But the details on this model are so deep and so crisp that to me it was just calling out for a really weather-beaten sort of look. So that's what I'm going to go with. But I wouldn't blame you if you found this model and decided to do something a little more colorful either. It would look great that way as well. Okay, with these first layers of paint dry, it is dry brushing time. I'm going to be using an off-white for this, and I'm using my softest, most beaten up old brush because of how delicate this resin feels. I'm using an off-white, and I'm going to be pretty heavy-handed because I'm putting some other colors over top of this to give me some more vibrance and to filter it a bit more. And I want those to be able to pop. And to make those pop, I need these white highlights. So, something like that. And there we go. Now, as you can see, that's really made all of those details pop again, which is fantastic. It has really desaturated everything too, though. Now, if your table is a little more gritty, more grimdark maybe than mine is, then this might be fine for you as a place to move on to a wash step, because it's pretty dark and desaturated and grim. But I like a little more color in my stuff, so I'm going to start adding some color filters over top of this using contrast paints. For that job, I have picked a nice warm medium brown. This is Copper Brown from Vallejo Express Color. A darker brown, this one is Wildwood from Citadel. And a dark saturated green, this one is Creed Camo, also from Citadel. And I'm just doing the exact same thing that I did before, just wet blending it onto all of the wood. Kind of haphazardly. I'll be a little more careful around the stonework and stuff this time because I don't want to get these colors on the stone. But that dry brushing that we did now is really letting all of those more saturated browns pop, which is exactly why I did it. So now the contrast paints are dry, and really what I'm going to do at this point is come back in with another dry brush the exact same way that I did the last one, just a little bit lighter. I don't want to be quite as heavy-handed with it over the wood, just to brighten things back up and catch some of those details again. Really, that's all this kind of painting is on terrain like this. It's just a lot of really simple techniques, layering things up to try to get the effect you want. There's nothing complex or difficult about it at all. It's all really simple stuff. Now with the dry brushing done, there's just a few last things to do. One of which is the metallics. For all of the decorative metal bits, I'm going to be going with kind of a brassy color. Should help things to pop a little bit. That's like this decorative chimney piece on top, as well as the caps on the ends of these beams. And there's a little metal, I don't know, like a snake pattern on the back as well. That's going to become brass. All of the functional metal bits are going to become steel. And that's just going to be one base coat for all of it. And then that will get some detail when we hit it with the oil wash after. With the metallics dried, I'm going straight to the world's simplest oil wash. This is just some black oil paint, some brown oil paint mixed together to give us a nice dark, dirty brown. That's going to go over everything, including the stonework and the metals, to give us that kind of a grungy look that's just going to make everything pop a little bit more by darkening down those shadows. Now if you overdo this, you can always remove some of it after with white spirits. If you're doing that, make sure that you use artist grade white spirits to take the oil wash off. Otherwise, what you're going to do is just strip all the paint off of your project, and you don't want that, I assume. If you do want that, there's easier ways to go about it. But no, you want to use artist grade spirits. People forget to mention that sometimes in these videos, but it's important. Otherwise, you're gonna risk damaging the paint. Here we go with the oil wash dry. As you can see, it's given us a really nice buildup of kind of a brown grime around all of the rivets and the cracks in the metal. It just made things like the rune stones, or the rune carvings rather, much easier to see because it looks like they're, filled with dirt and grime. Perfect. Absolutely what I wanted from that. And now just one or two more steps to make this complete. The first one is just going to be taking a bit of black pigment powder, just a little bit, and an old brush, and I'm just going to dust some of this onto the vent and onto the furnace to make them look a bit more worn and like they've been, ash has been flowing through them. It can get around the rocks too, that's totally fine because, smoke and ash has been coming out of there as well, so it makes sense that it would be. Yeah, perfect. And we're gonna get that right around the furnace as well. And the very last touch is just gonna be a little bit of a yellowy contrast paint for the liquid in the barrel. Just gonna carefully apply that as a filter over the liquid inside. Nothing too extreme, just a little bit of, this is Zealot Yellow from the Speed Paint range, which is kind of a egg yolk looking yellow. And I'm using that because I want the liquid in the barrel to appear like oil if someone looks. Of course, you could use blue or a dark gray if you wanted a water effect instead, but I'm going for oil. And that is it. All that's left is to take a few pictures and put it with the rest of the collection. So, final thoughts on this one? Would I recommend picking this up? Not really. For the price, the building is really small if you get it at full price. And the vibe, obviously, while cool, is super specific. You couldn't put this down in just any setting and have it look right. That said, the detail captured in the sculpt because of that old school resin is pretty wonderful, and that makes it super easy and fun to paint. You can just kind of do whatever with those really beginner-friendly techniques, and it's gonna look great when you're done. That's just the level of detail that it has, and that's fun. Now this works for me because I got it on sale and because this is the vibe that I'm going for in my next campaign, but I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to pick it up. For the price, it's really quite small if you pay full price. And, well, working with this old resin is just not great. It's very brittle, like this front support here, despite everything I did with it, using those really strong glues on it. It just feels like it's gonna break off. And I imagine one day it will. So I don't really recommend it, but if you happen to have this in your back catalog already, or if you see it on sale, it's incredibly easy and fun to paint up and really, really beginner friendly. If you're looking to practice your wet blending or your dry brushing or environmental effects, then painting this is an absolute win and is great for those things. So give it a try. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one.